Welcome to the second episode of Learn to Redstone. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the most important redstone techniques you should know so you can build some redstone techniques yourself. So let's go. So yeah, I know I have shown all of this in another video already, but in this video here I'm also going to show you on how to build certain things. So here we do have two versions of item filters. Each of those are a bit different. This one is stackable, so that's preferably used in storage systems, and that one is not particularly stackable. It is, but it's not optimum, because if you set this up correctly, as you can see here, the signal here is already 1 when this hopper is filled over to 42 items. So this means this hopper here would also get unlocked. And now I can show you the problem. This one is already ticked down to 18. If we fill that up and put the rest here, as you can see here, the items get sucked out of that hopper because it got blocked up there. And so the item filter would break. Not the case in here. If you fill that one up like that and that one like that, that one should stop. Yeah, it did, and that one will stop soonish. So that one is stackable, the other one not particular. You should use that one when you do not have to stack it, because it's just easier and uses less components, so it's actually cheaper to use that one. So if you're wanting to build such item filters, it's quite easy. We're just first off going to start off with the stackable one. You place blocks up like this. Yeah, this is not my design, I just want to show you how this works, and that's the design for the other one. If you're building it up in the air, just add, like I said, we'll build it up here, then we just build some blocks underneath so you can place a repeater on. Then we'll place a repeater in here on 1 tick, then redstone dust on top, here a comparator, and then we have a hopper facing into it and a redstone torch here. Use some blocks to get out and place 2 hoppers. You can do it the same way over here. Place a comparator on the outer block, underneath a redstone torch, a repeater pointing into it on 1 tick, and 3 redstone dust. That's the reason why you should use this one whenever possible, because you use 1 redstone dust more, which is a bit of a waste, to be honest. And then just place hoppers like this and you're done. So next off, we do have some flip-flops. Either the normal flip-flop, which has 2 inputs, or a T-flip-flop with a monostable circuit, or a T-flip-flop with an observer. So to build the first flip-flop, it's fairly easy. Just place 2 pistons facing into it with a 2-block gap in between, place the redstone block down, and then just place the redstone torch on one side, buttons here and here. If you do power the other one, nothing happens. If you power the other one, it will unpower the lamp, and so switch it back on and off. The one using a monostable circuit is a bit more difficult to build. You will have to place a block like this, a gap, a block, a sticky piston, and the redstone block here, then a piston facing upwards, a block on here, then you will need your redstone inventory, place a repeater here, or on the other side. You can also use a redstone dust here, and then at the end, you can just place down a stone button, or any button, or a lever, whatever. It will just flick here, so it will just power on and off once you press the button or switch the signal on, and then again off, and again on. And last but not least, we do have the observer powered one. that one's a bit more difficult. Place a piston down, a sticky piston, then an observer in front of you. Just place the observer in that direction you have placed the piston, because otherwise it would face the wrong way. Then another piston and a redstone block. This design here is a bit more long than the other one, but not particularly longer the system itself. Lucky for you. You can also build this one the other way around. You can also do this, which doesn't work with the other one. You cannot build it as compact in that way with the other design there, and it's also around as expensive, those two methods. So next off on our list, we do have some NOT gates or signal inverters. Here we do have, for example, one using a piston. The piston has a redstone block in front of it, which powers a redstone dust, and once it extends, it doesn't power redstone dust anymore, but would power a repeater, but the repeater cannot be powered from above, so the signal gets switched off. It's like one of the more tedious inverters, but also very fast inverters, because a piston has a zero-tick retracting sequence, which means it's the fastest switch on version of a inverter, because a redstone torch, as we do have here, has a 1-tick delay, as you can see. And last but not least, we do have a different signal inverter. This one is using a pulse extender, so it means it takes quite some time until the lamp switches on. As you can see, you can expand this as long as you want. We will talk about pulse extenders later on as well. And when you switch it on, it switches on quite quick. So this is, for example, used for doors, to keep doors open as long as possible, and then switch them and then close them back up. And here we do have some comparator clocks. Those clocks are like the most changeable clocks there are in Minecraft. You can change the speed as much as you want. You can also speed it up or slow it down a lot. As well, you can also add a pulse extender here with a lot of delay here, so you charge the pulse extender up correctly, and then the clock is really slow. Well, yeah. On the contrast, we do have an observer clock, which is like the easiest super fast clock you can build. Yeah, it's really easy and really fast. There's also another option for a quite fast clock with butt powering, but it's like a bit too laggy for most of the systems, so I wouldn't recommend doing that, because there is also slime block, which could stick to blocks and push them around as well. A whole mess. I mean, if it's the right pulse, you can use it, but I wouldn't suggest doing that. Then we do have hopper clocks. There are like items traveling back and forth between two hoppers or multiple hoppers. Yeah, it's not particularly fast as well, and it's not the best sort of thing. And this one is one of the fastest clocks you can possibly build. As you can see here, it's twice the speed of an observer clock, because the observer detects when the piston extends, and the observer detects that the piston retracts, and it sends a signal to the piston that it extends, which the observer detects, and so it's going to fire like a madman. And now we're talking about comparator pulse extenders. These are just the normal pulse extenders you should know and use a lot in your redstone projects and redstone builds. There are two options to make one. Either like that, or you add a block in here, which will extend the delay of this one massively. As you can see here, It's taking down very, very slow, and you can extend them as much as you want. But if you add another block there, it will be infinitely powered, so it will never switch off. And here we do have a repeater pulse extender, which extends like pulses of observers, so they're not a one-tick signal, so the pistons do not spit out their blocks. That's what we're going to talk about in another special video, because pistons do have a lot of special features and also very interesting features and a lot of techniques we should talk about in a little closer detail than I'm doing right now. And here we do have the ether hopper clock. That's like a relatively easy to build clock, and it's quite easy to define how long it is going to last. You can also calculate how long it's going to last, the clock. Yeah, switch it off, it takes a long time. That's a bit of a downside of it, but yeah. And as a quick reminder, all except that technique there are not my designs, because they're just standard redstone designs, which some genius people out there have developed. I'm just showing them to you so you can learn them, so compact in one video. But we have forgotten about one thing here. That's a 5-minute timer. This thing is using an item which gets dispensed. Here we're using diorite. The item just gets dispensed, and once it's dispensed, despawned, a new item gets dispensed. Yeah, it's quite easy to make. So in case you're wanting to build a 5-minute timer, you just go ahead and place a block, on top of it a wooden pressure plate, which is really important. You take a wooden pressure plate, then a repeater here, a block, a redstone torch on top of it, then we go on top of the repeater, hold down shift, and place some blocks surrounding this pressure plate. Then we're going to make like an U, and don't place a block here, because that's where the dropper is going to go. And then that's like basically it. Then there are two options. Either you're wanting to have a signal which switches on whenever an item despawns and gets dispensed, or you're wanting a signal which is on as long as there is an item in there. That's your decision here. I just showed off both of those possibilities, either the redstone torch or direct redstone. And then you just have to fill in some items into this thing. You can also use some hoppers, and then block up this and replace the block at the back again. And as you can see here, the dropper has fired out one item. Next off, we do have a auto dropper system, or actually two auto dropper systems. I think this design you should be familiar with. That's the basic design I use a lot in my techniques. It's not particularly fast, as you can see here. I mean, it works, it's like enough for most of the systems you will need. And also there's another one which I used a lot in the redstone villa, which is a lot more lag friendly, which only dispenses out item once it has reached a certain fill level, which is not reached at the currently. And then a block gets popped up here, which forces the piston to extend, and use the observer to fire out the items here as quick as possible. In case you're wanting to add some complexity or some geniosity to your system, so there are no more items here, you can use this also as a counter, but I will make a bit closer tutorial on this if you're really wanting to. Let me know down in the comment section. So to build such an auto dropper, you need to place down a dropper, then a comparator facing out of it into a block which has 4 blocks extending out of it, then a comparator here. You can also remove this comparator and replace it by redstone dust, but then the dropper won't actually empty to the last piece which has been in it. then a block like this, a repeater on top of it, a bit of redstone dust here, then a block here, a block like this, and then some blocks down here, a sticky piston facing upwards, a block, a redstone repeater on here, and redstone dust over there. Then we go out here, place down an observer facing this way. Then we go here, placing observer like this, a sticky piston like that, and resin dust over here. You can also place a repeater if you wanted to. You can, you do not have to. And this should work now. As soon as we have put in enough items. As you can see here, it starts spitting out its items, and it empties quite quickly. And as you can see here, this piston here gets butt powered, and this system here won't work in Bedrock Edition because there's no butt powering. You would have to build a quite different system here. And once it's done, it will shut off quite instantly. And right over here we do have some gates. Here we do have a OR gate. If any or multiple of those are switched on, then we do get a signal. If none is switched on, then we do not get a signal. And over here we do have a NOR gate. Neither of those 3 or 4 or 100 levers can be switched on to get a signal. That's the opposite of the OR gate. Then a quite more complex gate is the XNOR gate or XOR gate. Either one, but not both, of the signals can be switched on at the same time, as you can see here. And in both directions it does work. And we do get one signal output, but I have just put 2 repeaters there because I don't know. And last, as the gates I want to show you, we do have the AND gate. Only if both of the cases are true, or multiple of the cases are true, or all of the cases are true, or switched on, we do get a signal. Otherwise, not. That's like another opposite of the OR gate. So there is a lot of options you can have here. It's quite interesting. Gates are really important in logical circuits if you're wanting to check if something is true. Next off, we do have the monostables. There are 2 options. We do have a vertical one. This is 1 wide, but 3 blocks high. As you can see here, it submits a 1-tick pulse, which forces this piston to spit out its block. And when we retract, nothing happens, and then extend again, and it spits out another 1-tick pulse. As well, here we do have a vertical one, which is 1 block high, but 3 blocks wide, and also a bit thicker than the other one, but that's another story. It works just the same way. So, to build such a thing, it's quite easy, and this one as well. Just don't put a repeater on more ticks than that. As you can see here, it won't be a monostable circuit anymore. Even if it's on that, as you can see, it won't work. Repeater on first tick, and the rest in that. This makes a monostable circuit. Next, we do have a sand counter. This does only work in Java Edition, by the way. This thing over here as well, because Bedrock is weird. And we will need another monostable circuit here. But then we lengthen the pulse to a 2-tick pulse, because the repeater lengthens the pulse of a redstone signal, which gets submitted to it, to the length, which is equal to its delay. I hope this has made any sense. But we have a repeater on 2 ticks here, which makes the signal be 2 ticks. If you would have 3 ticks, the signal would have been 3 ticks, obviously. So, and then we can just press the button here, and then it just goes through there, on and on and on. And once it reaches the last one, it will reset. And we'll start it up again. So if you're wanting to build such a thing, then I would suggest building it up a bit higher than you would usually, because we'll have to build a monostable. We can actually build the monostable up higher and then connect it downwards. It doesn't matter, but it will be a little bit wonky of the design-wise. We place down a piston like this, then a 1 block gap, and pistons like this. Ongoing, you can expand that like to madness, but I will just, for demonstration reasons, I will only build it with about that many pistons, because otherwise it will just really get mad. Then just place a repeater facing into the blocks you have placed between one side of the pistons, and then repeaters here as well. Then we do place blocks on top of here, blocks here, a block here as well, like this, blocks like this, and then blocks like that as well, and another block here. And this is the entire layout of where we put the repeaters on, because here is a repeater on. To build such a sand counter, you just have to go ahead and place pistons in such an order. You can go mad with how many pistons you want to do. It's just going to take a long time to reset. Just be aware of that. So in between of those pistons, place in some blocks, as well as here. Then place some repeaters facing into the blocks and away from those blocks in the middle there. And place some blocks on top of them again. Here some blocks in such a form. And at the front here, like this, with a redstone torch here, a repeater here on 1 tick, then repeaters on 3 ticks on all of those. Here some redstone dust at the turning point, and again repeaters on 3 ticks, and at the end we can just put redstone dust like this. So this will be automatically reset, and at the bottom here we do have to place down some redstone dust, as well as here, and some blocks in such an order. Place a button there, or whatever the input signal comes there. A sticky piston facing upwards. We're doing here a monostable circuit, and a repeater on 2 ticks. And it'll look like this, because when you're building it, it'll elevate it by 1, then like that. Otherwise, we're just having the signal going up like this. You can do it that way as well. It doesn't matter. It's using the same amount of resources, so you can do it any way around. And then here we have to get some blocks which submit full power but are falling energy blocks, like sand and concrete powder. So hopefully it works. Let's see. Yes, it does. As you can see, it just fires up. Every single press of the button fires it up another time. Perfect. And reset. So next off, we do have signal transportation devices, either for going downwards, we do have to make it 2 bytes, there's no other option, except using pistons and slime blocks, etc. And upwards, there's one which is a bit slower, and is 2 blocks wide, wherever you should make that one, or the normal one, which is quite fast, and only 1 times 1 block big. So next, we do have some minecart unloading stations. 2 different designs. Either the classic 1 hopper speed minecart unloader, or the more advanced 2 hopper speed unloaders. So to build those, it's quite easy. Place a comparator in front of a hopper, which faces into a block with a redstone torch on top, which has a block on top, and also a block on top of the comparator. And then for the double speed, you need a repeater and a block in front, and for the single speed, only a redstone dust on top. here it doesn't matter which mode you have the redstone dust actually. So we do have to charge up those minecarts with 1 stack of light blue wool each. I think there's maybe actually some stuff in there actually from testing it before. And as you can see here, we do get also some blue wool through here, and this hopper is quickly filling up because this minecart is almost empty now. And as you can see here, that one is already empty, and the other one's still taking some really long times until it's getting everything unloaded. But soonish it will be finished, and it is done now. To move on, here we do have some piston extenders. That's like the easiest ever design there has been possible. Only 2 wide double piston extender. And it's also very fast. You can also make it a bit faster when you're using a shorter pulse than a button has, but it's still quite fast. And here is also the old design for the double piston extender, which we're still using currently. There's no actually, I don't know of any better design as this one, because this one is like the fastest design you can possibly build. And as I said before, we're going to talk now a bit about signal shortening. There are 2 different designs on signal shortening. First off, we do have the old one, which is actually quite useful still because it's a bit faster than the modern one, but the modern one is still better than the other one, obviously, because it's more modern. Those signal shorteners can't bring pistons to spit out their blocks. They're just making signals which are short enough for certain like double piston extenders, etc., or for the signal which you can use for other stuff, whatever. Here we will need to put in an item inside of the hopper, and the only benefit of this other version here is you can make it so it's going to emit a zero tick. I mean a zero tick. The only benefit of this the only benefit of this certain particular design here is you can shorten the pulse it's going to submit, and that's the normal length of pulse. That's equal to what it submits here. So they're quite easy to build and also useful. I mean, if you have enough space and you're needing a very short pulse, then certainly use this design here. But you can also just use that design, because I do use it a little bit more often because it's newer and more compact and also way smaller than the other one. And so it is all enough small to fit it in every single redstone contraption you could possibly build. And so this is it for today's episode of Learn to Redstone. Leave a like if you enjoyed and learned something new, and consider subscribing if you're new and you're enjoying my content. So until next time, goodbye!